Boredom for me is a very dangerous thing. During times of boredom, I have said yes to opportunities I regret. I've made commitments that I dread and started and invested tons of money into hobbies that are only mildly interesting. And as a solo business owner, I have spent hours upon hours on busy work that did nothing, and I mean nothing, to actually build my business. Just this morning, I was feeling a little bored. Rather than getting this podcast recorded as planned, I found myself shifting my attention to a whole lot of other things that really have no value or purpose for what I'm here to create. So today, we are going to hop off the hamster wheel of busyness and focus our attention on doing things that actually drive success in our business. Welcome to the Solo Grind. I am Teresa Schloop, a brand strategist, web designer, and solo small business owner who loves little more than a short day in the office. Today, we are chatting about how to ditch the long hours, the overwhelm, and busy work so we have more time to actually live the life that we are building. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Solo Grind. I'm so happy to have you here. Whether you're new around here or you come back each and every week, thank you for spending this time with me. Now, for me, there are two seasons when busy work can become a real problem for me. The first is when I take an unhealthy look at the competition and start doubting my very existence. That I actually talked about in depth in last week's episode, and just in case you missed it, I will be sure to share a link in the show notes. The other season when busy work can become a problem is when things are slow and I am looking for ways to bring in new business. This too can lead to an unhealthy look at the competition. So, again, I referred to last week's episode. But I also know slow can be really scary for all of us. So, I'm going to include a link to episode number 41, When Slow Looks Scary, just in case that is the season you are in. No matter how we get to this busy work moment, it is one of the trickiest traps in the world of business, as it often looks and feels like productivity, when in truth, it is keeping us from achieving any real and meaningful progress. Busy work creates clutter in our lives. This could be physical clutter, mental clutter, or digital clutter. Regardless of the type, it all diminishes our clarity and makes life a little less comfortable. Busy work also leads to burnout and exhaustion, which also diminishes our clarity and significantly impacts our decision making abilities. All of this leads to sacrificing our strategic growth in business and it keeps us stuck. We may believe we are getting things done, but that is just an illusion, my friends. We are actually decreasing our productivity and probably not enjoying our business or our life all that much. There are a lot of things that we all feel like we should be doing as solo small business owners. And most of these things do have real value under the right circumstances. The trouble is, we feel that simply owning a business creates the right circumstances. So we create our list of must do things and just keep plowing through that list, rarely looking up to see if we are making any real progress or simply adding to the clutter. As we are pushing through these lists of must do things, we dream of the day when we can pay someone else to do this for us. And when that day comes, we often sacrifice profits and even sacrifice paying ourselves so that we can pay someone else. Alongside that, we don't recognize that we are sacrificing more than our profits and our paychecks. We're giving up time we thought we would save because while we may have gotten rid of one task, we now have added another, managing people, which often takes a lot more of our time than we thought it should. So we work harder to make more money, to pay more people, to buy more software, to make our lives easier, and the cycle just continues to repeat. This is the hamster wheel we have all found ourselves on, and to put it plainly, it sucks. We feel like there is no end in sight to the overwhelming amount of things we feel we must do, and we are right. The wheel just keeps spinning and spinning until we fall off in sheer and utter exhaustion. Now, I am by no means saying don't grow your business or you must stay small forever, unless, of course, you want to stay small. And I am certainly not advocating for you to do everything yourself. Hiring help is smart, especially when it's the right help. I just want you to grow strategically. And you can't do that when you are busy all the time for the sake of being busy to feel productive. So let's do a little bit of comparison on busy work versus productivity. The illusion of productivity is woven so tightly sometimes into our viewpoint that we can't see clearly what is productive and what is just busyness. So, we're going to do that side by side comparison. And there are four areas that we're going to look at specifically. The first one is our focus. Okay. When we're engaged in busy work, our focus is jumping between tasks without any real momentum. We're doing a little bit of everything, but not finishing very much, if anything at all. And the work is shallow and it just keeps us going and going and going. But when we're engaged in productive work, our focus is on one thing at a time and we do it really well. We have a deep focus on the work that actually moves the needle forward in our business, and we give ourselves fewer tasks that are more intentional and with a lot better outcome in mind. The next area is our goal. When we are engaged in busy work, we find ourselves staying busy so the day feels full. We are checking boxes just to say we got things done and filling time with checklists instead of doing something of real value. However, when we're engaged in productivity, we are making progress that actually supports a much bigger goal. We choose tasks because they matter, not because they are easy, and we work with a clear direction in mind, not just momentum and check marks. For example, let's say I am working on my marketing, okay? Part of that marketing is this podcast and my blog post. Those are things that I can focus on that will give me a clear outcome in line, and they support the overall goal of my marketing strategy. Okay, let's take a look at the next one here, and that is the result. When we are engaged in busy work, we feel exhausted but unsure what we actually accomplished. We put out a lot of effort with little to show for it, and at the end of the day, we have that why do I still feel behind feeling. Okay. But when we're engaged in productivity, there is clear progress in that we can actually pinpoint. We've achieved milestones. Even if they're little milestones, they are done. And at the end of the day, we know we made real progress towards our goals. And then finally, the mindset. So when we're engaged in busy work, our mindset is driven by perfectionism or the need to prove something. We find ourselves reacting instead of making strategic decisions, and we let urgency, not importance, determine how we spend our day. But when we're engaged in productive work, we are guided by purpose and clarity. We make intentional choices about where our energy goes, and we are focused on efficiency, not exhaustion. Now, perhaps you are sitting there nodding your head in agreement because you know all of this, yet just because we know it doesn't mean we don't fall into the busy work trap that stalls our productivity. My morning is a perfect example. And as I said a little bit ago, busy work is one of the trickiest traps in the world of entrepreneurship. And the only one who can steer you away from that hamster wheel, my friend, is you. So today I am sharing 8 steps to help you do that. And the first one here is be direct and ask. So we are going to start off with mindset because I do think that that is honestly the best place to start to really steer us in the right direction. And so why don't we take a moment to simply ask ourselves, does this move my business forward or is it just making me feel busy? And then listen to the first answer that pops into your head because that answer is the right one. Our brains are really great at convincing us of the illusions and the lies we want to hold on to. and it is quick to find ways to validate what we think we should be doing. But our heart knows the truth, and the heart is the one that answers first. It is always going to provide us with a direct, clear answer. It doesn't babble on, it doesn't validate, it simply answers the question and then goes silent. It's the brain who babbles on and on and on. So listen to your heart and trust what you hear when you ask that question. Does this move my business forward, or is it just making me busy? The next one, that tip or step that I want to share with you, is notice what you avoid and why. One of the best ways to avoid things that we hate doing in our business and our life in general is busy work. Focusing time on shallow tasks that offer little to no value makes us feel like we are productive in the moment and gives us the perfect excuse to procrastinate. Now, we know when we are being busy to avoid things because there is this distinct feeling of discomfort wiggling around within us. We try to ignore it and can easily find a million other things to do, like spending hours creating a few reels on Instagram or creating our welcome packet for the 10th time. But the discomfort is still there. So rather than practicing avoidance and living with that discomfort, I want you to try this. What if instead of hiding in busy work, you just sat with the discomfort for a few minutes? Minimize distractions and just sit there in that moment of discomfort and allow yourself to really think about why you feel so uncomfortable. Often, when we face what we would rather avoid head on, the power it has over us starts to fade, and we realize things aren't as bad as we thought. Plus, the solutions to making it better start to surface so that this doesn't have to continue being a discomfort, but we can allow ourselves to focus our time and attention on what actually matters. Okay. Step number 3, whichever one, is make a decision and stop revisiting it. There are areas of our business that we love to overthink, and overthinking is busy work in disguise, my friends. This could be overthinking things like how inquiries from potential clients are handled, or what happens when someone says yes. Maybe we keep overthinking the tools we should use for basic functions like scheduling appointments, receiving payments, or how we communicate with our clients. The process of making these decisions over and over and over again is simply exhausting, and it doesn't help us get things done, and it definitely doesn't lend to efficiency. So let's hop off the hamster wheel of decision fatigue and stop overthinking things. Here's what I suggest: make a decision once and then document what you did and why. This is your process. And with it clearly outlined in a place that you can easily refer back to, you now have a clear path to follow in the future. In regards to software, make your decision intentionally based on your needs and give it all you got to make sure that it is set up properly. Also, keep in mind that there is always going to be another tool you can use. But if what you have is actually working and doing its job, stick with it. Implementing new software and tools or processes is honestly one of the biggest time sucks that small business owners engage in. Now, I do recognize that there will be moments when you realize that process or software really isn't working anymore. That is part of business. When that happens, make a decision and update your process and your software. Then move on. Don't keep revisiting it. Don't keep trying something new. Don't keep asking your buddies on the Facebook group, what is the best tool for this? Make a decision based on your needs. Implement it. Move on. And this leads us into number 4, which is put a time limit on your tasks. Busy work thrives when there is no finish line in sight, and what may seem like a simple, easy task can quickly stretch into hours and hours of avoidance. So things like making a few changes to your website or creating some new marketing materials, reviewing and cleaning up your processes and systems. These are all great tasks to do when needed, but if you don't have a clear view of what finished actually looks like, You are just going to keep right on tweaking and changing and doing until you are too tired to think clearly anymore. So, how do you use your time more effectively and put those time limits in place? First, clearly define what you want to achieve and what the finish line of that task looks like. Then, schedule a reasonable amount of time to accomplish it. Put that time on your calendar too. Don't just say, oh, yes, I'm going to do this. Actually, schedule that time because it's important. If it wasn't important, shouldn't be on your calendar. And then, when the time is up, step away. Period. Step away. You may need to do some fine tuning, or you may want to keep tweaking and doing a few more things, but step away when the time is up anyway. And here's why I recommend stepping away. When we spend a long time working on a task, our brains start to get tired. When the time is up, by stepping away and taking a break, we are giving our brains the break that it needs to see clearly. And if we need more time or we feel we need to tweak, then schedule that time in the near future. If you really do need to make some final adjustments or tweak it a little bit, those tweaks and adjustments are going to be just as clear later on when you have time scheduled to make them, and probably even more clear. And when you go to that time on your calendar and you're like, what was I thinking and why did I want to change this? Then you know it was just busy work. So, you don't need to do it and you just freed up some time to do something else. And this actually leads me into number 5. Stop fine tuning the things that don't need it. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. No one has ever hired you because you changed your branding colors from a light coral to salmon. That is just a tool that helps make you recognizable. And that Instagram template or post that you spent hours perfecting got about 20 minutes of visibility before it was pushed down the feed. Fine-tuning things that already have worked well is driven by perfectionism and avoidance, and these things don't make you successful. They just make you tired. Now, yes, of course, there are times when you want to tweak your branding colors or create a new Instagram template, and these tasks absolutely have value when they are done with intention and a time limit. So here's what I want you to do in place of fine-tuning. Before you tweak, redesign, or fine-tune anything, ask yourself one simple question. Is this moving my business forward or just making me feel productive? Listen to the answer that comes to you because, again, the first answer you hear is the correct one. And if you genuinely believe that it's going to move your business forward, then I want you to name 3 results that it should produce for you. If you can't name those 3 results that it's going to offer, then you know it's time to redirect your focus to something that will move the business needle forward. Okie dokie. Number 6, batch work the things that interrupt focus. People are often surprised when I share that I only check my email once a day. I also only check social media once or twice a week. And I almost always set my phone to do not disturb when I am doing project work. Why? Because these things distract my focus and slow my progress. So I schedule time to take care of these things, and I set a time limit and stick to my schedule for the most part. This doesn't mean I rigidly follow a schedule. I'm flexible with my time and I build white space into each and every day intentionally so that I have the flexibility when I need it. I just have very clear defined boundaries for myself that supports productivity. I also like to batch work the really bigger tasks. So this could be writing my blog posts, researching and recording new podcast episodes, or working on new designs. When I am able to focus a larger period of my time on one specific task, I am able to give it my full attention. And I get it done that much more quickly. I also have much better results in the end and feel really good about what I have created. So, here's how to build your schedule for better focus, or at least this is what I do. First, I start off by looking at the week or month ahead. I typically do it by the week because my calendar will shift a little bit from week to week. But I take a look and I identify the really big task that I need to accomplish in that given week. And I add these to my calendar. Now, I actually schedule these on my calendar. I might not stick to that schedule perfectly, but by blocking off the time on my calendar, I am guaranteeing that I have time to do them. Next, I make sure that my phone is going to be set to do not disturb automatically during the times when I plan to work on these things. And I never open my email or social media when I sit down to do them. Now, I typically have my phone it's set up to where it automatically goes to do not disturb every morning at a certain time, and it turns off every day at a certain time. But sometimes maybe I'm planning to work on something on a Sunday or whatever. Well, I'm flexible. This is my business, right? I will make sure that that time is blocked off. And again, I don't have my email, social media, or anything like that even open in a different tab. They are completely turned off because I don't want the distractions. I also don't let notifications happen on my phone. There are a few things that my phone is going to notify me about. And that is done by design because I don't need the distractions. Now, once you've scheduled your phone to be do not disturb, you made sure that is. Next thing I recommend is to build extra time into your calendar by blocking off a few hours to catch up just in case something gets in the way of progress. So, for me, how that looks is Thursday afternoons, I typically block off a few hours to finish up anything that didn't get done for this week. That is my catch up time, and it's blocked on my calendar on purpose. Once I have these things scheduled on my calendar, my phone set to do not disturb, then I know the remainder of my days, the cracks between those blocks of time, that's when I'm going to be checking my emails or scrolling social media, whatever other little tasks need to be done. And those tasks may vary a little bit from day to day, but I do make a point to do them, especially checking the email once a day. But they are not the priority of my time. They do not get the bulk of my focus. They have a time limit so that I can work on the things that actually support my business, like taking care of my clients. Alrighty, tip or step number 7 is to automate strategically. There are certain areas of business that really don't require a judgment call to be made each time the task is completed. For example, booking an appointment with me. The process to book an appointment with me is pretty straightforward. You look at my calendar, see what's available, book that time slot, and then an automation turns on that sends you a confirmation with the link to connect. It automatically sends you reminders and even gives you the opportunity to reschedule as need be. I don't need to be involved in this process, so it's automated to take care of it for me. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, my scheduling assistant is on my website, allowing people to book a time that works for them. And then it has the steps in place to make sure that they remember and know how to connect. Other things that I've automated include my invoicing. Anytime an invoice is sent out, it is automatically scheduled, reminders are scheduled, easy links for the clients to click and pay. Like, it's all automated to take care of me. And one last area that I have automated is that information gathering phase for any new projects. There are certain things that I need to know about my new clients. I want to know them and their dream customers. I want to know their vision. I want to understand their brand, their core values, all of these kind of things. These questions I ask everybody. So that process is automated so that when a new client is onboarding with me, I'm able to gather the information that they need. They are feeling taken care of and giving me what they want to share, and the projects move forward. I don't have to be involved in that process because I automated it. So here's what I recommend is first of all, you need to determine what to automate because not everything is going to work as an automated process. For example, when I go to send out contracts, my contracts are pretty standard, but I can't automate that because each project has a slightly different scope. The number of pages we design or the brand pieces that we're creating, whatever the case, is a little bit different. So I don't automate that because it doesn't make sense. But that may be something that makes perfect sense for you. Automation looks a bit differently for everyone, depending on what your needs are. So here's my super simple 2 cents worth of advice. Identify what takes time out of your day that could easily be handled through automation. And then schedule some time to research, test, and implement that automation. Now, if this is something that you know you really want to explore, I suggest you check out episode 64, Streamlining for Sanity, with my very special guest, Tori Chase, and reach out to her directly if you need help. She is genius at automation and making sure that your time is focused on what you actually need. She just doesn't come in and say, let's automate everything. She gets to know your business and how you work and what is going to support you, and then makes recommendations that are personalized to what you need. I'll be sure to include a link to this episode as well as to reaching out to Tori directly in the show notes if automation is something you know it's time to do. All right, our final step or tip for the day is, my friends, reduce the number of tools that you use. Now, we all need tools to help our business run more efficiently. That's just part of business. And I don't think that that's just a technological age. Businesses have always had tools to make their business run more smoothly. But there's definitely such a thing as too many tools. Many of the most popular must have tools in the entrepreneurial world overlap a great deal with each other and have a lot of features that you just don't need or understand. This all leads to digital clutter and time sucking tasks. They also can seriously hurt your profits. I actually had a client a few years ago that was struggling with her profitability. Now, I'm not a profitability coach by any means, but we were having the conversation and it came out that she had all of these different tools. Like, I can't remember how many different tools she had, but it was a long number or a long list. And a lot of them did very similar tasks. There was so much overlap. It was crazy. So we sat down and I just, as a friend, helped her go through this list of tools to see which ones worked best for her and which ones were redundancies. And at the end of that, we discovered that she was able to cut $800 a month out of her budget by getting rid of these excess tools. $800 a month. Now, to some people, that may not be a huge deal, but for her at that moment, that was a big chunk of change. And I personally always look at, what could I do with $800 a month? $800 a month would be a nice little down payment on that vacation cottage on the beach that I want to rent, or maybe cover the whole thing depending on how long I'm staying. So it matters and it cuts into our profitabilities. So minimize these tools, get rid of that clutter, get rid of that money and time suck, and get yourself focused on what actually is going to support your business. So here's a quick list on how to reduce your tools. First, make a list of the tools that you use in your business and what their actual purpose is. If there are any you still haven't implemented, get rid of them. They will still be there, or a better new tool will be in place when you have the time and the desire to set them up, if that time actually ever comes. That's another thing I've seen is people buying into software because of a great Black Friday sale and paying for that software for month after month or year after year and never making time to implement it. That's a waste of time. Don't do that. The next thing that I want you to do to help reduce your tools is look at your list and look for any overlap between the tools. If you have two tools, two software programs, whatever, if you have two that do the same thing, identify which one is going to support you better and get rid of the other one. And I want to add one more little tip to this one, and goes back to the profitability. Each month, as new expenses roll in, ask yourself, am I really using this tool and does it make my life easier? If not, Cancel that subscription right away before it gets buried and forgotten until next month. Now, if you really want to go do a great big old deep dive into minimizing your tools that you're paying for, take a look at episode number 47, The Tools I Don't Use in Business Anymore. And again, I will include a link to that in my show notes. All right, my friends, that brings us to the end of our 8 steps to ditch the busy work. And thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope that this has helped you realize where you spend your time at work so that you can spend more time enjoying the actual life that you are creating. Until next week, my friends, have a great, wonderful, fabulous week ahead, and I cannot wait to connect with you again. Thanks for tuning in to The Solo Grind, our weekly coffee break with your business bestie by your side. If today's episode helped you step off the hamster wheel even a little bit, I would love it if you would take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It's the easiest way to support my show and to help it reach more people just like you. Now, go enjoy the extra time you've just created for yourself because you, my friend, have earned it